Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for die-hard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. If you're new here, definitely be sure to subscribe. This is for the die-hard fans only. So if you're a die-hard, be sure to subscribe. If you're not, we don't want you to go ahead and kick rocks. Just kidding. If you were a casual Bengals fan, we'll take you too. But we're here for the die-hards. If you're laughing because Le'Veon Bell still hasn't reported to Squealers Camp, be sure to leave a like on this video. But I'm not going to pub much. You guys know where to find my stuff. You know to subscribe, like, and comment for shout-outs. But let's get into it. We're going to go ahead and review today's press conference released with Marvin Lewis talking about the season. So let's get this started.
How excited are you just to get the season going now?
It's exciting. It really is exciting to be at this point. When your past season finishes, it seems like so far away. And then, and as you get through to when we started the off-season program, to through the draft process, and now then training camp and so forth. So it really seems to fly by. It seems like it's a long time, those 9 weeks, those 5 weeks in between the last 6 weeks. So it really goes by pretty fast. So I am excited. I'm excited about where we are, excited about our team, excited about them to their preparation this week and us to go play a football game on Sunday and win the game. So I think that's what's exciting about it. And, they've worked hard, and now we're at the point where everything you do, it all counts for real.
So it looks like Marvin is ready to just get this season started. He's anxious to see how these changes have happened and what the effects of those are. And I think we all can agree we're ready just to get the season started, to see what's going on. So good to see that Marvin is definitely re-energized and ready to see what the Bengals can do against the Colts.
Last year you guys started Sunday, Thursday as well, similar to this year. Did you take anything from what happened last year?
It's reversed the trend.
I didn't know if you look at changing the way you prepared it all forward or alter some of the ways to try to avoid.
No.
Now, this is kind of shocking because we can always talk about and preach to Marvin talking about second half adjustments, better game management. I think he could have taken some steps here to say that they were doing that. In the past, he's come off kind of arrogant. I was hoping to hear something with him saying that, yes, we have worked a little bit more on adjustments and making sure that we use the right play calls and emphasizing time management. So we'll see what else he has to say here, but I was not going to lie, I was kind of disappointed that he didn't say anything about that.
No.
Tony McRae, Durante was saying he thought you guys learned a lot about him in Buffalo, playing through some stuff and understanding he was a little banged up, but wanting to go out there and showing. What did you take from his process this preseason, particularly in Buffalo?
Well, I've had, my experience with Tony is a lot longer than Durante's. So, I think Tony, I have confidence in him. Being part of our plan and part of the team, and knowing that he can go in there and play for us if he has to.
And that's a great thing to hear about Tony McRae, who we all thought was a sleeper. We've talked about him on this show several times. He's, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's from a HBCU, so fellow HBCU alum. Definitely a guy that can come in. And, I mean, this was a guy that made the roster over Kavari Russell, which is very interesting, which we're not sure exactly whether Kavari is going to get pulled up or not. You would expect that he would be, but interesting to see that Marvin Lewis has high praise for Tony McRae. He also is a kick returner, but I didn't get to see much of him do that during preseason.
Seems to have some versatility for you too. How much is that part of what you like about him?
Well, he's had the opportunity to play the different, inside spots and, practice them and so forth. And in the past, maybe not as much this training camp with really getting hurt almost literally one of the first early practices. And what seemed to be a pretty minor thing and you know, kept him out of for a lot of work.
Was it 24 hours like for you from cut down point to getting guys back on the practice squad? You just kind of say what happens. It's out of my control, or do you kind of sweat it with some of these guys wanting to get them back?
No, I don't sweat it. It is out of our control. Somebody can claim the guy, and you know, these players are all free agents at that point once they've been waived by us. So whether they're claimed or have the ability to sign with another team's practice squad, we end up having to work a little harder with a couple of them each year, it seems. But we were great in getting our guys back, and you know, they all told me on Saturday when we released them that they wanted to come back and be here. So they all fulfilled it, all but one.
So that one that he's referring to is Brian Hill. He was the only one that didn't want to stay, but it's good to hear that the players wanted to be back in Cincinnati. And we also kind of heard George Iloka on his way out say that we're brewing something special here. So that could mean good signs that players felt like this team was going to do something this year and that they wanted to come back to Cincinnati.
What went into the decision with Michael Johnson?
Just so we had to make a decision with the roster, and you know, we were able to work it out.
Why do you, obviously, he's been here a long time. What do you like about what you've seen from him over the years?
Well, Michael was voted a captain again today. He's been one of the pillars of this football team throughout, and you know, his play on Sundays and his preparation during the week, and you know, we've got some young guys at his position, but his ability and what he does and his contribution on Sunday is great for this football team, great for the defense, and you know, he's a great leader, still is, day in and day out.
So it looks like Michael Johnson was only released for a formality, which kind of came to the light, especially once he was re-signed. I touched on that on both videos, but it seems as if the Bengals did bring Michael Johnson back, and it was simply to secure a way for Devontae Harris to return later in the season, because he was placed on IR, I believe, designated to return. So that was the whole formality. Michael Johnson is not taking a pay cut. He had 1 year remaining on his deal. That 1 year is still being honored. So interesting to hear Marvin Lewis speak on that. Seems like it was simply just a formality.
How much is what happened this weekend about trust and relationship that you guys have, you and Michael, this team and Michael? How much was that part of what made this weekend possible, even doing that?
Probably a great deal.
How many guys on this team could you do that with and trust that they'd still
3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's about how many veterans we have.
So I almost kind of want to know which 3 or 4 veterans that Marvin felt like he would be able to do that with. But it's good to hear that they do have that kind of connection with their players.
Michael talked about how when he came in, there were guys that he saw do it when he was a rookie in 09. There were guys he saw do it the right way, and which kind of speaks to what you've been trying to build here. I think is,
well, obviously, he had guys at his position, Robert Gathers, who was, you couldn't ask for more. Very similar to Mike, and his contribution, his toughness, and everything day to day, playing playing through injury and missing very little time throughout his career. So guys like that, guys like a Frosty Rucker who's still playing today, who they turned around their careers a little bit, by figuring things out. And Domatel was a little bit ahead of Michael. So yeah, the room was populated with guys that had grown up in and matured into being great pros.
Kind of all started when you brought Thornton in.
Yeah.
One of your first.
Well, John was, in 03, and John was a great mentor for these guys, and obviously for Michael, for Frosty, he still is today. And just his character and his how he went about his business day to day, and as we know, still today.
Did you know that by the numbers at the cut line, you actually have the youngest roster in the NFL?
Well, I knew we had to be pretty close.
Not now, though, right?
Well, I mean, I'm at Saturday.
Yeah, right.
At the actual cuts.
Yeah.
Michael.
So it's interesting to hear that the Bengals we originally had the youngest, but it seems like we don't have it anymore. But I think all that means is that the signs are pointing up. This is a youthful football team. It's kind of like they hit a small reset button, but not necessarily. They just did a rebuild instead of a reload, similar to 2011.
It elevates a little bit, but not much at 31, so it doesn't elevate very far. But it is. We have that group of guys has played a lot of football, and we have a young group that's coming behind them that their contributions over the last 2 or 3 years is quite a bit, and then we have the young guys who will play, make very positive impressions with everybody this season. I'm excited about that.
Is there, I don't know, a different way you have to approach a team that's so young compared to one that maybe you've had?
We got to make sure we feed them dinner every night because we don't know whether they're going to get it. I mean,
watch over them a little closer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. It's really important that we got guys who have to grow up the right way. We have the class from last year who's still feeling their way through it. And, with John and Joe in particular, those guys taking it to top, like that. And Jordan Evans and can't remember who, Jordan Willis and, can't remember Carl, et cetera. Some of those guys are a little bit more mature and handle some of the day-to-day things more than others, Brandon Wilson. And so, yeah, we have to really do a good job. Willie, who's third year, but, still, and that's part of it. And but when you work through it, then you reap the benefit of it.
Yeah, what Paul was saying, it's guys play a lot of ball. I think the average experience on the starters might be five or something. So it's like it seems like it's got that blend that you're trying to.
Might be 5 years, but it's probably 5 times 16. So whatever that is, they've played a lot of NFL football. It's not like they've stood around. They've actually been out there and playing.
So in closing, it seems like people are just ready for the season to get going. Marvin touched on the youth movement. Those are things that are going to be important with this upcoming season because the Bengals are going to be put in certain situations where they have to act with veteran IQ and show the mental fortitude to get over certain things. Sorry about that. But as usual, make sure that you comment and like this video. Be sure to let me know what you guys thought of what Marvin Lewis talked about. And as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.